All right, let's talk about something that trips up so many people in project management, Burndown versus Burnup charts. Seriously, getting the difference isn't just trivia, it's the key to really understanding what's going on with your project. So let's dive right in.
You know that feeling, right? You're in a meeting, and this exact question is just hanging in the air. Is the team actually falling behind, or are they trying to hit a target that keeps moving? It's one of the most frustrating things to deal with. Well, the tools we're about to break down give you the real answer.
Okay, first up, let's look at the classic, the one pretty much everyone has seen before, the Burndown chart. This is the standard, go-to tool for seeing how work is progressing inside a sprint.
So what is it really? A burndown chart is basically a countdown. It's a super simple graph that just shows how much work is left to do. As your team knocks out tasks day by day, you get to watch that line march steadily down towards zero. The goal? Hit zero. It's honestly beautiful in its simplicity. Along the bottom, you've got your timeline, the days of your sprint. And on the side, the vertical axis, that's all the work you have left, whether you measure it in story points, hours, whatever. The whole game is just to get that line from the top left corner down to the bottom right by the end.
And why do teams love this thing so much? Well, because it's a quick, visual gut check on the sprint goal. At a glance, you can see if you're ahead or behind. It gives the team something to look at every single day and say, okay, are we on track? Do we need to change something? It's all about that daily transparency.
Now, when you look at one of these, you'll always see two lines. First, there's the ideal line, that perfect straight diagonal shot to zero. That's just a reference, a guide. Then you've got the actual line. That's reality. It's jagged, it has flat spots. It tells the real story of how the sprint is going.
And man, that actual line is a fantastic storyteller. You see a flat line for a day or two? Uh-oh, something's probably blocking the team. See a sudden spike going up? Whoops, scope creep. Someone just added more work mid-sprint. It gives the team instant, valuable data to talk about in their daily stand-up.
But here's the twist. For all its everyday usefulness, the trusty burndown chart has this huge blind spot, a really critical flaw that can cause some serious confusion and lead to the wrong conversations.
And this is the core of the problem right here. A burndown chart smushes two completely different stories into one single line. How fast the team is working and how much the total work is changing. So when that line goes up, you can't actually tell why. Is the team stuck, or did somebody just move the goalposts?
So, how do we fix this? How do we get that clarity back? Well, this is where the Burnup chart makes its grand entrance. It's the elegant solution to the burndown's biggest weakness.
A Burnup chart totally flips the script. Instead of tracking the work that's left, it tracks the work that's been completed. So the line burns up as the team delivers value. But, and this is the game changer, it adds a second line that tracks the total scope of the project. Here's how it works. You've got two key lines to watch. The line on top, that's your total scope. It's the finish line. If someone adds a new feature, that line jumps up. The bottom line is all the work your team has finished, and that line should only ever go up. And the space between those two lines, that's simply the work that's left. It's clean, it's simple, and the two stories are perfectly separated.
And the reason this chart is so incredibly powerful, especially when you're talking to stakeholders, is because it directly answers that one question we started with, the one that causes all that tension in meetings.
With the Burnup chart, the answer is just obvious. If the completed work line goes flat, okay, the team is blocked. But if the total scope line suddenly jumps up, everybody in the room can see that the target just moved. It completely separates the team's velocity from scope creep. No more arguments.
All right, so we've met both contenders. Now let's put them head-to-head in a direct showdown, so you know exactly when to use each one.
This table pretty much says it all. For that day-to-day, in-the-weeds tracking inside a single sprint, the burndown is fantastic. It's simple, it's focused, but the second you need to see scope changes or talk about long-term release forecasting, the Burnup is just way, way better. It gives you the complete picture.
Let's make this real with an example. Imagine you're looking at your burndown chart, and on day 7, the line for remaining work suddenly jumps up from 20 points to 25. Now what? The project manager has to go investigate. What happened? The chart just created a question instead of giving you an answer.
Now, let's look at that exact same scenario with a Burnup chart. The team's completed work line is still climbing steadily, proving they're making progress, but you see the total scope line make a clear, sharp jump. There is zero confusion. The target grew, and everyone can see it plain as day.
Okay, let's bring it all home.
We're going to wrap this up by distilling everything down into a few perfect, sharp answers that are going to make you sound like an absolute pro in your next interview or project meeting.
So, someone hits you with this classic interview question. What's the core difference?
Here's your killer answer. A burndown just tracks remaining work, while a burnup tracks two things, completed work and the total scope. That separation makes the burnup far superior for making any kind of scope change visible. Bam! That answer shows you get the fundamental trade-off. All right, next one. Why are burnups so much better for talking to people outside the team, like your stakeholders?
The answer here is all about honest communication. You'd say, because they provide honest transparency. Burnup charts prevent misunderstandings. Stakeholders can see the direct impact of their own request to add scope, and that just leads to much healthier, more realistic conversations about deadlines and forecasts.
And if there's one thing you remember from all this, let it be this. Burndown is for the team's daily internal tracking within a sprint. But the moment you need to talk about the big picture, about release plans and changing priorities with stakeholders, the Burnup chart is your absolute best friend. It tells the whole, honest story.